Hello, welcome to La Pizca. I am Alicia, and it is my intention to put a pinch of constructive thinking in this endless ocean of ideas that is the internet. Today, I want to share with you one of the most important tools that I have discovered in my life for evolution, transformation, and just like actually just joy, happiness, and self-fulfillment. So yes, the tool that I want to share with you is writing a diary. And I hope I can pass along to you today the main keys of how I do this practice, and if I give you some motivation to start writing a diary yourself. So I will be like super happy. And also, if you are already writing a diary and I can give you any tips that will be helpful, I will also feel very happy about it. So I will start just first with a little introduction of my history with the diary, and then I will tell you the best tips that I discovered in the long years that I've been writing a diary. And it's quite a few years because my first diary, I had it when I was 8 years old. We have this thing called, in Spain where I am from, it's called the First Communion. We dress like little brides and we marry Jesus. Actually, it's not marrying Jesus, it's like, I think, it's like you become part of the church, and then you get presents, and it's really nice. I was really looking forward to my First Communion for the presents. And they also give you bread and wine in church, which is kind of like also an introduction to alcohol at a young age, which is also very cool. I'm joking. Of course not. Anyway, I will try to focus on what I want to pass to you because it's really important. So, among those presents that I received, there was a very special one. It was a small diary, and the pages had some kind of perfume. And in these pages, in every page was written a little line, and this line was, "Where there is a will, there is a way." At that time, I didn't speak English, but it's for me like very touching that this phrase, "Where there is a will, there is a way," has actually become like a very important part of my life, because it's so true. Even in your darkest moment, even when you are in the pit of despair, when there's no hope, if you have a will of something, if you have a desire or an intention, this will create a way for you. At the beginning, maybe you don't see it, and maybe it's just one little step that feels insignificant, but in the long term, all these little steps really make a difference. At least they made in my life. And yeah, I really see it. Just a will, just a desire, just some intention, and you find some path. It's like it starts to create around yourself something, where you start to see things or notice things. So I had got this first diary when I was 8 years old, and I thought it was really cool. I would write down my age and my friends and the boy I like, and I of course I would write a couple of days, and then I would stop, and then I would write, and then I would stop. But I remember that feeling that I was writing for an audience. I have this diary at home, and I didn't finish it yet. Like every couple of years I write, not a couple of years, every 5 or 6 years, I will write a page there just telling this imaginary audience that I felt I had when I was writing. So as a kid, even if I was feeling isolated or alone, the moment I was writing the diary, I would imagine this audience there that I was telling my story to. And that was also something very powerful for me, and very, yes, I like tasty, nice. But then one of my teachers in the school said she gave us the task to write. It was to write every day the diary for a month. And she told us that in the days that we didn't want to write, we could write. Today I don't feel like writing because. And she said that that was very important because we really had to get into the habit of writing every day. So that was my first attempt. This was a couple of years after my first communion, so I will be maybe 10 or 11, something like that. So this was my first attempt, and I remember it. I don't remember if I did it the whole month, but this idea that we could write every day, it stuck there somehow. Then, when I was a teenager, I started writing a lot. I don't know how it was for you when you were a teenager, but for me it was very hard. I didn't want to do this transition between being a child and being a woman, so I was really closing myself and trying not to confront the reality that I was changing. I was not ready to leave childhood. I wonder if anyone is ready for that. Anyway, so I started writing a lot in the diary, and I found my outlet there where I could express all the negativity, everything that was happening. And then a family member read my diary, and he was totally like, he was totally freaked out about what I wrote there, and it became like a big drama. I was kicked out of the house. Yeah, so, but not kicked out just for a day, but still, it was New Year's Eve. Yeah. So that was tough and traumatic. I hope, like, sorry for the little trauma dumping here. I promise this video is about the diary, but I think this is important to tell you because if it is for me something that I would like to tell to people, like, don't read other people's diary. Don't do that. Like my boyfriend, because some years ago someone read my diary again, they were like, oh my god, it's so horrible and so negative, and of course, but and then I thought to my boyfriend, like, hey, I always leave my diary around, why you never read it? And he was like for you, your diary is like when you go to the toilet in the morning. It's your personal thing, like I will never dare to look at it because it's your shit. And I thought that was quite wise because I think this is exactly what it is. Like when you go to the diary, it's not to write the pretty things. Like maybe some people like find it useful to have a diary for gratitude or things that, things that they are grateful for, and things, I wrote once a diary of things that make, like in a little one, like, things that make me laugh, because I always think that I'm a very serious person. So things that I find funny. So that was that was really bad that when someone reads a diary. So what I want to tell to people is don't read other people's shit unless they tell you to or they ask you to. Because, for example, I do something in my diary that it comes from magic thinking, that is the principle that everything is complex. So it's an exercise that you start from the most negative interpretation of an event. So you start from the negative, like super negative. How is the most horrible way that you can interpret something? Then the second part is that you remove a negative and you tell it in a less negative way. Then again, you tell the same story in a less negative way. Then it comes the neutral part where you will only say the facts, exactly what happened. Then you tell the story in a positive interpretation. They're more positive than the most positive way that you could explain why someone did what they did or why something happened. And then in the last one, you have to tell the sacred interpretation. Like, what is the sacred learning from that? So imagine if someone opens my diary and I only put like little signs like negative, and they read the first thing, they will say, oh my God, like, how is this person thinking so negative about it? So, or also like in the diary, you let your voices in their head, like all these voices that we have, like in our head that we don't know where they're coming from, or sometimes we know. Like the other day when I was teaching, someone said I said okay, listen, when you want to do something, what kind of voices are you hearing? And then he was, I just heard my violin teacher. I was teaching music teachers, and I just heard my violin teacher telling me like to start playing right now. So it's like we integrate all these voices in our head. And when we are writing the diary, and I will tell you how to do it, you just one exercise that you can do with automatic writing is like you let the voices in your head express. And you just write down what you hear in your head. So it's the way that you become more conscious about these voices in your head. And then you can track where they come from. Like you become a detective of your own shit. But that's why if someone opens your diary and reads it without permission, it's a great violation. And please don't do that. So that would be my first advice. Please don't read other people's shit. Okay, so then this was like a big trauma for me at that point. So I stopped writing the diary for quite a few years after that. Then I went back to writing because I think, yeah, I really love it. I love writing. I love this sensation of immaterial things, invisible things that are around you, and then you kind of put them in a paper and you transform them into something material. And for me, psychologically also, if it's in my head, then it's inside of me. But if I put it on a paper, then we have some separation and I can look at it and it becomes, I have more inner space, if it makes sense. So I kept writing. I was writing a lot of things. I was writing theater, or I was writing stories. I was writing sometimes what happened to me, but not so much. I think maybe I was still afraid that, someone will read it, because these things, like they when someone makes this kind of transgression, like it kind of stays with you, you lose the trust. But then I went to live to London, and then there was this beautiful actress, Catalina de Castillo. She's from Colombia, and she invited 4 women to be part of a group to do the artist way. If you have never done the artist way, I really recommend it. It's this book from Julia Cameron that is like, she developed this program to heal your creativity. She developed this following the program from Alcoholics Anonymous, but applying these principles to creativity, to unblock your creativity. I think it's 20 weeks or maybe more. And every week you focus on one aspect of your creativity, like the material part, the economical part, or the memories, or like where ideas come from. It's super, super helpful. I always will recommend to do the artist way in a group, because it's like you deep dive in your inner world, and it's nice to share it with other people, for me at least, because I think it's 12 weeks. So there's when you start the artist way, you sign a contract, and the first thing and you commit to a couple of things, and one of the things that you commit to is to every day write 3 pages of automatic writing. And the rules is that you cannot read it, and anyone else can read them. So this was 15 years ago, and I think since I started, I think pretty much every day since then I have been writing 3 pages of automatic writing every day. I had my breaks, like sometimes even for a month or something I would stop, but it became such a strong habit for me that when I don't do it, I really miss it. Because for me, this moment where I write the morning pages, as she called them, is the moment where I can find myself. We live in a society that is all the time pushing us outside of ourselves into how we look to other people, or what other people think about things. I mean, and I appreciate the wealth of ideas, like internet or YouTube. There's so many amazing YouTubers that I follow, that I appreciate, because they educate me, and it's amazing. Instagram, I have more like a careful relationship, because I don't know what it is about Instagram, but I feel maybe because of the format or something, that people always shared like the best side of our lives, but it misses, for me, it lacks this component of the reality that is painful and messy and ugly. I feel people that I follow on Instagram, for me, are able to transfer that there. It's like, maybe Instagram is like the window shop. Then they're in the shop, the window where everyone places something. I don't know why with Instagram I have this relationship. I don't know if you have something similar. Anyway, I feel with YouTube, there's people that are really expressing themselves in a very articulate way. This is amazing, but we have so many access to amazing content and to entertainment and to distractions. So to have for me in the morning, and it can be 15-20 minutes where I'm just like collecting myself and my ideas, or writing down my desires or my dreams. It feels so essential. And I know other people find it in other ways: meditation, tarot cards, maybe yoga. I don't know, there's many other ways. So this is just like one that I found that for me is very useful and I really enjoy. But of course there are many other ways to do that. Anyway, so this short story is becoming a bit longer than I thought because I'm enjoying telling you the story, but I want to go to the tools. So yeah, Artist Way was amazing. It really helped me, and it stick with me, this idea of writing the 3 pages every day. And when I started this with the automatic writing, that is what I told you, it's just like you go and you stop and you listen to what's going on in your head and you write. I remember at the beginning I was just writing super fast, like I think for years I had the idea that automatic writing had to be very fast. And then I think one day I had this breakthrough, but I was like, actually, I don't need to rush it. It's okay. I can stop and I can write. But this is what is nice about commitment to something for a long period of time. You have these breakthroughs because we have these prejudices or these preconceptions of how we have to do things. But when you commit with them and you do it for a long time, things start to crack and you start to see, oh, maybe I don't need to do it this way. I can do it in another way, and I can take my time, and I can actually think, and I can just let my mind work, and I can be, it's like you start to develop a skill. And I was thinking when I was walking the dog something before I came to this video, that for developing a skill, if you can take a course in the university about creating writing, of course, I imagine that would be amazing. But for me, I think more important than that is the commitment that you make to yourself, that you want to develop a skill. You remember where there is a will, there is a way? So if you have the will, like I want to develop my skill to express myself in writing, then the way will start to open. And it's not about expensive courses or classes or even books. It's about that every day you show up to the page and you write. Because the best way to learn how to do something is by doing it. And I think that for me is one of the best things that I learned in this process. In order to develop a skill, you need to give it time and the space. And time is not 3 months in university or 5 years or a very expensive art school. Is 15-20 minutes a day. And this changes, and this every day, if you make it, any practice that you make every day in the long time. For me now that I'm writing every day almost for 15 years, and I had all these little breakthroughs, all these little moments where I understood how I wanted to write, what needed to be expressed, where I had fun, where I struggled. So now I think this is for my story for tires. What are the tips that I have for you? I don't have many. I only been doing this for 15 years, so I only have a few. First one is like, but what do I write about? Like I go there, I'm really looking forward, I have the blank page in front of me. Well, of course you can try this of just writing the voices in your head. But maybe the voices in your head need a little bit of direction. So one way to start, for example, is yesterday and you start telling 8 things that you did yesterday. And you can add details to that. This, oh, by the way, this tip I learned it from some poet. He was telling this idea, so I'm sorry I don't remember the name. But this was not my idea, but it's such a good idea, because then you start saying, yesterday I I went to the park with my dog and I saw this woman, and you start from something concrete. And don't think that you have to write poetry or that you have to write something amazing or that it has to be beautiful or perfect or even good. It's not about that. It's about your commitment to yourself. And then you write it. This is one idea also for start writing. I was thinking also, I have the one that is fake it till you make it. That is like, if you don't know what to write, write what you would like to be writing. So for example, now I do, if I am writing something very healing and wise and useful. And I do this some days when I really have no voices, when I have no idea what to write. And I was thinking, why this is good? It's because you are creating an image of yourself as a person that writes. It's like we are performing for ourselves. And this is very important. It's for ourselves and only for ourselves. But ourselves kind of believe in us. You know, it sounds like very meta, but I promise you it works. Just try it. Give me a chance. Just write what you would like to be writing. I do now, like if I am writing something hilarious and funny and totally intelligent. And it's kind of like you start to, it's not serious, but it becomes serious because then you write. I do now if I'm writing something very honest, like that I feel terrible about it, and then the honesty comes and the wisdom comes. Julia Cameron talks like it's a radio that you can channel. She believes that we are not creating ourselves, but that we are collecting ideas, and we become like the bridge where these ideas flow into the paper. My sensation is something like that, actually. Like you go into the paper and you have a dialogue with the paper, so when you start writing, even ideas change because the words and the use of the words. So this is another thing. So what you did yesterday, fake it till you make it. Then also some very practical things, but very important things. Have your diary and your pen ready. Like if, for example, I often wake up, most of the days wake up half an hour before anyone is awake, so that I have time to write. So if I have to at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, start looking for my diary and my pen, it will be like torture. So I have it in my work desktop and I have it ready, and then I just like open and write. What else? I also like drawing, and for me this journey with drawing has been very funny because at the beginning when I was drawing, I had this kind of voice in my head that was like, who you think you are, Picasso? You know, I was like, what? I'm not Picasso, it's okay. I can make your drawings again. They don't have to be beautiful. They don't have to be nice. No one will see this but yourself. About this, so the rules is like, you don't read them, you don't show them to anyone. But for example, in the case of the Artist's Way, I think it's the week 6 or 7, where you read your diary with 2 colors in your hand, red and blue. Red is for the actions that you need to take. Like for example, if you are always saying, I really want to go swimming, and 3 days later, because you will not remember what you wrote because it's so early in the morning, I really want to go swimming. 3 days later, I really need to go swimming. So you highlight this in red, and this is the actions that you need to take. Blue is for the wisdom. As I said, among all this shit, sometimes there's cracks of wisdom here and there. I realized that my pain comes from not taking enough time for resting. So wisdom. And then you highlight the wisdom. So at the end of the day, you have some actions and wisdom that you start collecting, and this builds up. For me, because I've been doing this for so long and I have notebooks everywhere, like if you have a hobby, you know what I'm talking about, it becomes everywhere and all the time. There's notebooks and things for me. So what I do is like I try to take 3 days, sometimes like every 3 or 4 months, that it will be for reading my diaries. I know these 3 days are gonna be tough because it's like a narcissist showering your own seat. So I take my time, I take it easy. Like last time I took 3 days for that, and then I read only like 10 pages because it was a lot. And then I do other things, or I'm writing some script, or I'm writing something, so I will go to the distraction. But yeah, so I take it easy, but for me it's also nice to come and read them and see. And something that came out of reading my diaries was a lot of compassion for myself. Yes, I felt like, sometimes like, why I feel sad, or why I feel bad? And then when I read my diary, I'm like, oh my God, like this happened, and this person said that, and then that happened. And for example, this connecting with the drawings, something I do like a self-portrait of myself in a very simplistic way, nothing fancy, but I do it very often so that I can see how I was feeling that day. You just, even if it's a face or a body, it changes so much from when you're feeling happy, when you're feeling sad. And the thing, what is fascinating for me, is that when you are doing it, many times you don't realize that you are tainting with your emotion, whatever thing that you do. And I think, I'm thinking if there's anything else about the diary. I think that's pretty much it that I can think right now. And I would just really encourage you to do something creative. It can be a diary, or it can be pottery, or it can be dancing. But I believe creativity is an essential, we are all creative. It's an essential part of our soul, of being human. And also creativity is the bridge between reality and utopia. So everyone that develops their creativity is more empowered and more aware. And I know at the beginning, because I'm telling this like it's something very light and funny and great, that reality is that sometimes very dark things can come out, especially at the beginning with the automatic writing. You wake up, you're half asleep, you write whatever, and then when you read it, you are like, oh my God, I didn't realize this. So some very dark things can come out of your diaries, hidden parts of ourselves, secrets, forgotten memories. So if at any point you feel that is too much, please seek help. The psychologist, I'm a big fan of psychologists. I think they make such an amazing work. I think they, growing up Christian with the communion and all these things, there's this confession that you go and you talk to someone. I think psychologists kind of took the place for that. You go somewhere outside of your circle, you tell your problems or your ideas and something, and you get the feedback and the mirror, and in a constructive way, So when you start writing your diary or reading your diary and you feel it's too much, just look for help around, so that because all these things, when you open, the first things that come is the things that we were hiding, or like that we were somewhere that we were like trying to put outside. So yes, anything else, Alicia? Anything you want to tell to this nice audience that you have today? This is like when I was writing my diary when I was little. I imagined this fantastic audience listening to my stories. So that's it for today. This is my pinch of constructive ideas. I hope it was useful. If you have any other things or ideas or things that are useful for you when you're writing your diary, please leave a comment. And I see you in the next video, if the goddess wants. Ciao, ciao. Have a nice day.